Latif tell us. We are ready to party.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
We have officially partnered up with Albemarle Paper Supply. Albemarle Paper Supply services paper products within the cities of Charlotte, Concord, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Salisbury, Morrisville, and smaller cities in between. From fiber, plastic, and foam bowls, paper towels, tissues, napkins, takeout containers, gloves, to janitorial supplies, and much, much more, Albemarle Paper is dedicated to bring you the paper goods you need. Customers can pick up products directly at Albemarle Paper's warehouse located at 735 Henson Street in Albemarle, North Carolina, or products can be delivered to you at your business doorstep. Today's live is also brought to you by CL Driving School. CL Driving School is a truck driving school located in Indian Trail, offering programs for both commercial Class A and Class B licenses. With your choice between automatic and manual transmission, their classes consist of small group trainings with one instructor per truck. Training is available on weekdays, weekends, and evenings. Not only do you receive classes, but opportunities for sponsorship programs, recruiter visits, and job placement assistance also occurs. CL Driving School is also trilingual with classes offered in English, Spanish, and Arabic. Register for classes today by calling 704-821-1111. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the MLS Corner. We are back after some technical difficulties last week. We are back and rolling, and we are here to bring it this week. Hopefully, Charlotte FC brings it this weekend as well. We've got a jam-packed crew today. We've got my man who dropped a fire article today. Brian, how are you today, my guy?
Man, I'm doing fantastic in a lot of ways. Also, mind boggled. I think today specifically, just from the dropping the article right first thing in the morning, I feel like it kind of just set off a ton. Obviously, I'm not going to take credit for starting it, but it just seemed like today was a wild transfer rumor mill day. The amount of times I saw where Suarez was going specifically today, and how many times I messaged things and just looked stupid throughout the course of the day was probably at least 10 times. But
nice.
So I'm kind of spun in terms of the rumor mill.
Tuesday than it is. And then we also have the man, the myth, the legend, Lee from CLTFC Fan TV. Lee, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's Tuesday.
It's my boy's ready for the weekend.
Ready for the weekend, man. So ready for the weekend.
Ready, summer. And we had to bring him back by popular demand. The man who predicted that Charlotte would win. Unfortunately, they tied. Blake from MLS Gone Wild. Blake, my man, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I wish you would have said something about me coining the term Ben Bender, the space merchant, instead of me not predicting the 2-1 Charlotte win. But guys, I'm good. I'm really happy to be back on here. Like I said, pre-podcast, you guys are a great crew to talk to. And I really love interacting with the Charlotte FC fan base. So happy to be back on here and happy to get to actually see you guys in person this weekend.
Yes, sir. So, hey, listen, all the Charlotte fam, when you see Blake this weekend, man, say what's up to him. Say hi. Show him that Southern hospitality that we are known for. Make sure you take care of my boy. All right?
I'll make sure to. So I'll be wearing my Lucas Elarion kit that I'm wearing right now, my Lucas Elarion gold kit. Also, tomorrow, I'm actually dyeing my hair Cucho blonde up top. Ooh. So I won't be wearing the hat. So I'm going to have the Lucas Elarion playmaker jersey on and the Cucho goal scoring haircut. So you guys should be able to find me pretty easily.
Nice. Awesome.
Or avoid you, one of the two.
Yeah. So give him a little shit, but try make sure that you still take care of him, all right? Nice. Awesome. So we got to start it off, man. We saw views from the 6th this weekend, but we definitely picked up 4. A 4-0 loss to Toronto this weekend, man. Probably, in my opinion, the worst performance Charlotte FC has made in their history. I mean, the team looked lethargic. We looked out of ideas. Players didn't look up for it. It was just bad all around, especially the very first half, man. It reminded me a lot of the Inter Miami game, but this game was much worse. And so Also, Toronto debuting their Italian mobs. It honestly was just pass the ball to the Italians, and you know what? They won 4-0. Brian, talk to me about this loss.
Yeah, I think what we're learning about Charlotte FC right now is they're facing teams that are getting a little bit of a boost from the summer transfer window specifically, right? This is gonna there's been 2 games in a row. They're getting a little boost from the transfer window, and their legs are also seeming to get tired. Like key guys that we rely on for like the energy of the squad, Bronico, Carujo specifically, seem to just be like running on tired legs, and it's sort of like seeping into the rest of the team. That's like the first thought in my head is just like, man, it just doesn't seem like we can find the juice to finish or even get going in games right now.
100%. Lee, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I was confused with the lineup. I mean, putting Walkston right back and then having Lindsay and a fool on the bench. I mean, why, right? Why have both of them on the bench if we were already starting off with a right back? Other than that, man, what a terrible performance. That first half was horrible. Sucks that Fuchs got the red card, but in my opinion, and not just because it's Charlotte, I see this in the MLS altogether. The ref made a very bad call, I feel like. I mean, I forget the player's name, but he basically went through the back of Jaws. Yeah. I mean, if that had been a penalty or a foul in or out the box, either way, Fuchs wouldn't have had to make that professional foul and gotten the red. So,
yeah.
But
I mean, even like today, like we saw Jaws, he wasn't training 100% with the squad. So that lets you know, like, bro, you destroyed our guy.
Yeah.
Nothing happened, and so I mean we've had multiple calls this season now where like even the corner kick, it looks like it was a double touch, and so I mean I can't confirm or deny that, but still even with
the lineup is what threw me off, and more so the back line.
I didn't mind him trying out Yazoviak at the camera. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the back line was solid and was set, in my opinion, for pretty much all season with Walks and Carujo being in center. But
yeah, no, I do agree with that. Like in terms of experimenting with the back line, I think that wasn't the best thing to do. But I wanted to see what Camille could do at the cam role. He played him a little bit like that in Chelsea.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I mean, it wasn't
That's
a good
fair. I mean, I'm fine with that kind of stuff, but the back line's been solid all season. There was no reason for them to switch it up. But whatever. I'm not the coach.
For sure. Blake, did you get a chance to watch that game?
So I actually, right before I hopped on here, I watched the first 45 minutes. I didn't feel the need to watch the second half, right?
I'm glad.
Yeah, we didn't either.
No.
Right. So the back line obviously jumbled. Antoine Walk started out wide right. I remember about a month ago, I was listening to a MLS Today podcast, and I looked up the stats afterwards, and the XG against for you guys when Antoine Walks, once he actually started playing under Latanzio, that XGA went way down, and you were shored up in the defense, right? He looked like the anchor in that center back pairing that you guys lacked. And now you guys decided to experiment. I understand you guys didn't want to put Harrison Afful out there on Insigne. I really get that. It's a really terrible matchup. But Insigne in his debut and Bernadeschi on their debut are going to be bad matchups for anybody. These guys aren't going to have the David Goss theorem. They're going to have to play a whole year to really come into the league. Like, we have to remember, these guys played in the Euro 2020 championships and won the Euros a year ago, a year and a half ago, whatever it was.
But didn't make the World Cup.
Right. Yeah. That's worth mentioning, Lee. But the game plan very much was get the ball to the Italians. And it's so dangerous the way that those two guys play, with Insigne on the left, playing on that right foot, cutting inside, Bernadeschi playing with his left foot, cutting in from that right side. Like, it just creates numerical disadvantages for you guys, Charlotte, in the midfield, that Bronico playing as that single pivot just can't pick up. And Brian, you actually talked about it earlier as well. Like, we saw the infusion of Insigne and Bernadeschi and what they bring to the team. But then you also, they had good individual performances, but what do their good individual performances help? That helps the rest of the guys around them. Michael Bradley Brace, Jonathan Osorio looked different. And Mark Anthony Kaye was moving all over the pitch. Like, their interchange and their balance throughout that game was just too much for you guys to handle.
We made Bradley look like he was Messi or something, man. It was just that game sucked.
Yeah, and I want to couple this game where you guys gave up 4 in the first half. The 45 minutes prior to that, you guys gave up a 2-0 lead against Miami.
Yep.
And so you guys gave up 7 goals in the matter of 90 minutes. And I think a lot of that does have to do with maybe some tired legs. I saw some really poor defending. I remember on the Robert Taylor goal in the Miami game, he just kind of walked through your guys' defense. I don't know if you guys were scared to foul in the box or scared to commit, but that was really poor defensively there. And I noticed that in this, and Michael Bradley's second goal from the run of play as well, just a little quick combination and ran right by Carujo. And it was, it was game over from there, but it was just really soft defending around the 18. And then Bronico just doesn't have help on the top of the box and around him defensively.
And I think that's like, honestly, kind of the game plan. Like the 4-3-3 they want to run is going to have a central defensive midfielder who's going to be doing a lot of that work rate. But I think the issue is we don't have another option besides Bronico. We're forcing Bronico to pretty much play every minute in this way. And without any support in terms of like helping him cover that. I mean, I think that's what's really happening specifically for him is that he's doing all the work.
Yeah.
What?
But I mean, they brought in Derek Jones for that as well, man, to be competition for Brandt. But I guess they don't see him, they don't value him as much, or he's not fitting to the requirements of what the squad needs.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if that also might be the issue with the right back situation, which kind of is peculiar because it does seem like we have some decent right backs, but like it seems like that also might have played into the Walk situation. He's like, I'm just losing confidence in right backs right now. And I don't know. That was one of the reasons I was hoping they might sign one, just because I want a right back playing right back.
I just don't know why you put 2 on the bench, though. If you know what I mean? Yeah, we could have freed that up for another player, at least one of those spots.
Yeah. My biggest criticism, though, for this squad, especially, you go from Inter Miami, which you don't look up to it, to Chelsea, where like every player is like, I don't know, treating this like it's the Champions League final, to a performance like the one we see against Toronto, right? Right. I mean, like, first of all, the thing that we did the best against Nashville, and who did we play prior to them? Where we won? Yeah, Houston is from the get-go, we were energetic, we were pressing. You could tell the team was up for it. And in these very first, that's something that I've criticized Reyna in the past for. And I feel like now that's something I got to criticize the whole team for. If in the first 5 minutes we don't look like we're going to be up for it, it's going to be a long night for us, versus if we do look up for it, you're like, okay, like this is going to be a game where we're going to win, or at least, put out a solid performance.
Yeah. And that's what's been so strange, because I feel like in this period of time, like I don't think there's been a situation where we didn't at least at some point in the game look up for it. Even when we lost 2-0 to the Union and we kind of like came out kind of sloppy, we still at the end of that 90 minutes, you still saw us trying to put shots in, and we were going for it up until the last minute, even down 2 goals, and the game was lost. Like, and that's what seems to really be missing at this stage. So I don't know if it's a mentality thing or just what really is like missing right now, because it seems super strange from what I've seen. Because I would say the one praise that most national coverage, like MLS pundits, have even said, like, man, this team is willing to compete, and it just doesn't seem like they've got that right now.
100%.
And you have to remember, this is also an expansion side. We don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves. Like, it's a really bad loss, but you guys are a couple points out of a playoff race, 2/3 of the way through the season. You guys are going to be playing basically a 6-point match this weekend. That's why I'm here to talk about that one. So, you guys go there and win that game. I'm not saying Charlotte's going to win the game, so Charlotte fans don't take it that way. But seriously, we do have to remember that you guys are an expansion side, and you guys have been good at home so far this season. It was really sluggish. You guys looked really disconnected, I think, offensively and in the attack. Although Latanzio came out after the game and was like, yeah, we, it's 15-11 in shots. So really not a huge difference. And then 2-2 big chances. So like, you guys did have opportunities, but it's just the quality of Bernadeschi and Insigne and everybody around them playing up to that level was just different. So I have to ask you guys, where in the hell is Ben Bender? Because I really don't know. And what's your guys' best formation?
I don't think we know.
Yeah. Well, for Ben, sorry.
Go ahead.
So for Ben, I think it's just right now, he does a lot of brilliant things. Like right when he has opportunities to find that half space and find those spaces, like you said, like you coined the term space merchant. Like, I mean, those are the things he does well. But there's also, he's been, especially lately, when I've seen him out there decent amount of heavy touches, a lot of turnovers, and the physicality seems at times to be. I think players are realizing they can kind of bully him around a little bit, and it works. And then he can kind of get flattened a little bit out there, and it's and he hasn't found a way to get through that stage and find a way to still play his game. I think he's kind of bumping up against a wall a bit in terms of just that aspect of the MLS right now.
I think his defending needs to be a lot better too.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I think he was to blame or partially to blame for the third goal against Miami for sure.
And the first one, right when they came out there, I mean, he had just gotten subbed on, which I mean, was probably a tactical mistake on Latanzio's part, but he was in that midfield for that first goal, and Robbie Taylor dribbles past everybody, and he's kind of, you see Bender just kind of like chasing the play, and it's just like he hasn't caught up to the pace of the game at that point.
100%. And this is something I touched too on a Instagram Q&A that I did, because people are like, why are we starting Quinn over Ben? And I'm like, well, listen, it depends on the team that we're playing. If we're playing a team like Red Bulls or Philly that's not going to want the ball and is going to play you very direct, like Ben gets bullied around. We have to remember that he's still this is his first year in MLS. He needs that time and space to be effective, versus Quinn gives you different attributes, which is, the link up play, the ability to cover a lot more ground. And Quinn is the kind of player that Latanzio likes, and so no wonder the guy is starting so often as well.
Yeah, he's stability, right? He provides stability. He's not going to provide exceptional play, but he's going to provide the stability that kind of the team could use in the midfield, which we haven't really had all season. And so I think that's one of the reasons he's there. But then again, if you see moments like Nashville, like when the game has to open up and the game script changes, Bender's a perfect switch in there, and he gets 2 assists because the game has opened up and Nashville has to push on us and leave space in behind, and then you can see Bender excel. So there's definitely going to be opportunities for him. It's just, I think, a matter of him adjusting to league to get back that starting role if he wants it, and he's just going to have to. But you can still see that he can excel in those moments where it's an advantage to him to do so, right?
100%.
Yeah. I know we're all frustrated, but I look at Austin as kind of how they're doing, right? First season, they kind of had a shitty season, kind of fell off towards the end, really struggled. And then the season, man, they're killing it, right? They upgraded the spots that need to be upgraded, and now they're second, I think, in the West, right? And so, personally, I feel like we've gone above what we were, how good we are, or what we're expecting, and that raised the fans' expectations, right?
Yeah.
And it's good, but at the same time, right, I think the end of next season is really where I'm going to judge this team.
Yeah,
100%. But you also have to remember, when did Austin bring in Drusy? They brought him in that summer window, right?
Yeah, we definitely do. We better pick up a player or two, man.
That's something that also we're the contrary to us versus Austin is Austin, I think, was pretty much done now. They really were just kind of fading away. We still have a legitimate chance of actually making playoffs our first season. And
yeah, we got lucky the results went our way this weekend too, though, man. That table could look a lot nastier than what it is.
Right. Yeah. But that home form that we've had has really, really benefited us, because away we've only gotten 5 points. So
yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? You got to win on the road to make the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
You just got to win a couple.
Or more than one.
Yeah.
We'll touch on this as well today. Charlotte officially announced that they parted ways with TT Ortiz, our first 10. Obviously, a guy that Miguel wanted. Honestly, I don't think he didn't live up to the expectations that were brought on him after we sold, Riley McGree. He was the guy that we brought in hoping he could be that playmaker, that guy that was a difference maker. What do you guys think? Talk to me, Lee.
I mean, he never, obviously, you pretty much nailed all the talking points, right? He never came in and did what was expected. He never lit up the team. He never really cemented his team. And from what I hear in training, he wasn't really training hard and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, you're going to get out hustled, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what? Because in my opinion, I believe he got a fair chance. Because Latanzio played him his very first game against Red Bull, and he talked really well about him. So something between then and I think it was Houston the first game that we didn't see him at all. Something between then happened that made the club finally say, okay, we need to part ways with this guy. I guess you mentioned stuff going on in trainings and maybe other factors as well. He just wasn't producing to the level he needed to in what Latanzio and, to be fair, what Miguel required.
Yeah, Michael's comment's pretty funny, right? Heidi fell head over heels for TT in DC, and she literally did, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. We just need a creative player that can link up from the back to the front and make it happen. And we're lacking that sort of star player right now. I mean, we got the DPs, but just because they're DPs, I don't feel like we always have to start them either, right? I mean, I would rather play the people in form, because.
Yeah, Yazviak right now is getting the heat from not only from Charlotte fans, but also MLS pundits. I think Twelman it Twelman that mentioned that he's got 0 goals, contributions, and assists, and I think
550 minutes or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think a part of that is also Carroll, and I think we might see that the Gauss theorem for them specifically because of how, Carroll specifically, he touched on it. He hasn't had a break in I think it was 18 months or something like that. And so I think this offseason for those two players specifically is going to be really crucial to see what they look like come February, March, April.
Well, is there going to be an offseason if the World Cup's in the winter, right?
Well, they'll still have a month or so. They'll still have they'll have January to, ideally, probably January and February at least.
I guess it all depends on when the league starts.
Yeah. Ideally, they get even if preseason starts early, it would behoove them to probably give them at least a month off.
Yeah, I'm still reserving my thoughts on Yazviak. One, because he came back from a big injury as well, and I've seen glimpses of the qualities.
He's got the potential, man. He definitely does. It's just.
Yeah, but you're right, Lee. If he isn't consistently performing, I wouldn't mind benching him a couple of games and letting either Shinyashiki start or Vargas.
Shinyashiki was on fire, man. It was he was in form, right? And then we started benching him, and now it's now we're scratching our head. Why can't anybody score?
Well, I think one of the specific reasons with Shinyashiki is I think Latanzio is having an issue figuring out how best to play him. So he can come in on the wing, right? And then that gets him in the lineup and that gets him the minutes. But where he'd been scoring goals, especially consistently of late, was when he was coming off the bench and replacing either Carroll or joining Carroll centrally. And it's just, man, I think Latanzio is kind of in a conundrum right now on how to get him on the field well. And then there is times when Shinyashiki does well on the wing, but there's also times when I feel like he can kind of disappear because that's not, you can tell he's a center forward. And I think that's the one conundrum with Shinyashiki specifically. I would prefer him obviously on the field because he's definitely got the confidence right now. Same with Yordi. I think those two guys should, just their composure and their body language on the field right now is they're the only guys that are
Yordi turned it around, in my opinion, at the beginning of the season. I was like, why is this guy even on the bench? He's not even trying. He's not chasing balls. He's not doing anything. And now he's
he's hitting walk-offs. He's literally walking off.
100%.
Yeah, for real, the crossing needs to improve big time.
Yeah, it does. I like Michael's comment where he says he's reserving judgment on all our players until we get a creative attacking midfielder. Because that is a good point. When you have a good number 10 in MLS, it raises the level of every player around you, And so
the article that you guys dropped this morning.
100%. And we'll get into it then. Blessing to Charlotte FC. How would this signing impact CLTFC? And I'll let Blake talk a little bit about it as well, since you're our special guest. And we'll get to Columbus here in a second. But Brian did a great job of explaining why it would make sense for us to pick it up. But I kind of want to hear your thoughts and people's thoughts in the comments as well. Would you like to see Blessing in Charlotte?
To me, right? You said.
Yeah, you're Brian, right?
Yeah, I am Brian. Yeah.
All right.
I remembered. But yeah, no. So I think one thing off the top, Blessing is not a pure number 10. right? So he's gonna provide attack. If he were to come to Charlotte, he would provide more attacking threat, especially with the way he defends specifically. Like he provides high energy, lots of pressing. I mean, he would be our leading presser for sure, right? So he would provide opportunities on the counters. He also is good at progressing into space and receiving the ball well in progressive space to help provide and bring the attack forward. So it's going to be he's a high energy type player, right? Which is, I think, the biggest thing right now, like, because we're missing that. We're missing energy in the midfield. We're missing energy all over, and that's what he brings day in, day out, all like since day one. And I think that's why a lot of people really enjoy him and are fans of him, not just in LA, but I think around MLS. Like people have really taken to a player like him because of that approach that he has. So that's why also I think it works well in our system, because he can be the attacking player, but he's also like an 8 who will play box to box.
Right. I think I would love, side note, if he came to Charlotte, every time he scored, like all our TLs would just be the little prayer signs. How crazy would that be? Everybody just puts the little prayer sign. They're like, "Oh, Blessing scored." Look, all the Charlotte fans with the. I'm sorry, guys. I kind of got distracted.
Yeah.
Blake, talk to me, man. Would Blessing coming to Charlotte be good for us?
I absolutely think so. So there was about a month ago, he posted something on Instagram saying something that got taken out of context, that he wasn't happy at LAFC or something along those lines. And it came out later that it wasn't necessarily about the team or what have you. So he has been a pretty influential piece for LAFC, who has a really stacked midfield, and maybe hasn't got necessarily the minutes that he's looking for. And he could make a big impact for another team in the league, and a team in the league like you guys in Charlotte who could definitely use him. I don't think he's your center attacking mid piece that would take you guys over the top at all. He's not a 10. He's not going to be a game-changing 10 for any team in the league, but he is that guy that's going to provide that pressing, that ground coverage, that energy that you guys need. You guys need that infusion. And when you guys started talking about this, I started thinking about the Columbus Crew. And so you guys have Brant Bronico, who, for the sake of this conversation, I'll compare to Darlington Nagbe. He's going to be the guy that recycles possession, keeps the ball moving for you guys, provides the cover. And then you're going to have a guy next to him in that double pivot role that's going to kind of go explore, right? And that's going to be Latif Blessing, very much so how it's been like Aiden Morris for the Columbus Crew. He's flying all over the pitch, covering all that ground, getting stuck into tackles, and just being that connector from defense to attack and that energy guy. No. So I think that's absolutely a good fit for you guys, but business shouldn't be done after Latif. If you can get that done, go out and get yourself a 10 as well. And I think that center mid that dressing room is completely different. If you bring in a high energy 8 and a number 10 like that, the midfield is drastically improved.
And I think, well, that's the one thing that people, so I've seen this a lot on Twitter, that people don't think like the young DP slot can be like a game-changing slot, which is like, that's an absurd. I mean, if you look at specifically LAFC, NYC, like these teams that are growing, and you're like, how are they signing all these superstars? How are they making all these signings? It's because they're killing it in the U22 initiative, and they're killing it in the young DP slots, right? So that's the difference, because then they can also go out and get all these other guys. And so that's what you're specifically in LAFC is that's how they're doing it, because they have young DPs and U22s that are off the chain. I mean, Cucho, he's a young DP, right? So like the idea that you can't get a young DP who can be an instant impact it absolutely is a game changer. And that's the way the league is going. Like that's the direction taking it. That's the U22 and young DP is the future of MLS roster building.
Yeah, you're taking advantage of the rules that are handed to you by Don Garber and MLS. And I tweeted out today, like LAFC are obviously doing it better than anybody else. Toronto FC is not far behind them with this past summer signings of Insigne, Bernadeschi, Christico, all these guys. And so I think that is the modern wave of MLS. Like we have these resources for you guys. Stop being complacent. Go out and spend those money. Find those guys, bring them here so we can then sell them on. We want to be the league that brings in the young players, sees them make our league better, and then sells them on. And we get a nice cut of that sell on. So I think that's the way of MLS. And shame on you guys. First year club. Like, I don't expect you guys to come in and have the best roster build in the world, but there's plenty of teams in the league that have been in the league for 27 years that are terrible. Have time when
We're
We
losing
lose.
a little bit.
you're losing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that Columbus, Ohio internet stuff, man. You know, not only are we losing Blake tonight, but you guys are also losing this weekend.
Oh, geez. How bad did you guys lose me? Like, real bad?
Most
2-1.
of it.
Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah.
Towards the end, you were talking about the young guys, 27 years of the clubs and that kind of stuff, and that's where we lost you.
Well, then I'll just re-say for those folks that didn't hear that last portion, or for everybody that didn't hear it, because my Wi-Fi in Chesapeake, Virginia is trash. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I don't know what happened, but there's a lot of teams in MLS that have been here for 27 years now, original clubs that are terrible with roster construction, and you guys are just in year one. So I think you guys have a lot of room to grow, and there's a lot of other teams that are complacent that I look at them, I'm like, well, are you guys just okay with being complacent? Teams like LAFC and Toronto are just opening up the checkbooks and they're finding ways to make things work.
Houston recently as well, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
They just signed a new winger today, brought in Ache over, like.
And that's one of the things too that I wanted to touch on. Every team that we're playing is adding to their squad. They're getting better. I mean, we played Inter Miami, who added Pozuelo. We played Toronto, who added Bernardeschi, who added Insigne. We're playing you guys, who added Cucho. So, I mean,
so we turned these teams into new players.
We need to get better and bring players in as well. Like, we cannot be complacent this window. And I understand it takes time to find the right players, but at the same time, you kind of knew going into this window what we needed, right?
When does this window close?
In August 4th.
4th. Is it?
But it's
So next Thursday, a week Thursday, yeah.
They just have over a week. And here's the thing, it's not even that they go into the window, right? So I mean, and I wrote a shameless plug. I wrote an article about this like a week ago about like all the different quotes Zorn has made since the beginning of the season, right? And I mean, it's not just, I mean, they were going to wait to figure out where the holes in the lineup were, but they were already thinking about using the summer window for a DP slot back in like February and March, right? They were already reporting that to Tom Bogert and stuff like that. And so like the wheels were already turning in this direction. And I don't know what really changed. My other speculation might be that just the whole Mar to Latanzio switch might have actually played more of a role, and just in terms of like they're having these players drop and having to cut ties with them that they didn't maybe expect initially. And so that might have just changed their approach in some way. Or maybe their whole approach is changing just because they want to fit that. They want to figure out if Latanzio is the coach in the future, do they get a YDP with Latanzio as the coach now if he's not the coach at the end of the season? So I think maybe that also. So I just think there might be some influx as to why they're kind of holding off in this decision and then just deciding to say we can make the playoffs without one, which maybe not the best choice of words, but
that would be a big mistake in my opinion. But yeah. So we'll see. But let's get into it. Let's talk about Columbus Crew. Blake, talk to about this team that's 9 games, I believe, undefeated. You know, you haven't when we played you guys at home, at your home, we tied 1-1. But ever since then, also, you guys haven't lost a game. You've added Cucho, and he has been blazing up MLS, man. And talk to us about this game. What are you expecting? What are you seeing from Columbus so far since the last time we spoke?
A lot of things have happened since the last time that we spoke, guys. Like the Columbus Crew, like you just said, are 9 games unbeaten now. We have signed 2 players from MLS Next Pro Crew 2, Jason Russell Rowe, who is a number 9, and then Mo Farsi, who did his full debut as a first team player at right back as a sub for Marlon Hairston this past weekend. He can also play center mid, kind of a utility guy. Both good players. Jason Russell Rowe is an academy kid out of.
That was funny.
Jason Russell Rowe he was a homegrown out of Toronto FC. So shout out to both of those guys. Came in, the Columbus Crew signed those guys to the inaugural Crew 2 team in MLS Next Pro, and they've already made a jump to the first team. So that's also happened. We also got rid of Miguel Berry. He just went over to DC, who's now coached by Wayne Rooney. And Miguel has been and was great for the Columbus Crew over this past year. He filled in for Giassi whenever need be. He had some really big moments, clutch goals for the Columbus Crew. So he will be missed for Columbus. But the big news, Cucho Hernandez, club record signing, $10 million, 23-year-old Colombian international, scored 5 goals for Watford last year. And he's come in guns a-blazing. When the Columbus Crew signed them, Tim Bezbachenko came out and said, Cucho's a versatile attacker whose agility, mobility, and unpredictability make him a constant threat. And that was kind of the scouting report, and that's everything that we've seen so far. 4 goals in under 90 minutes for Cucho in those first couple games. He's the first player in league history to do that, to accomplish that stat. So that's absolutely huge for him. And he's not just scoring goals in one way. He's very multifaceted, right? In the Chicago game, we saw him sub on. We score a goal 1 minute after he makes his debut for the Columbus Crew, like instant impact. Like you couldn't write it any better than that. That's the dream start for a guy that takes a risk on a league like MLS, comes over here and does that. So dream start for Cucho and the Crew, right? They both get that right. And then he scores the game-winning goal over Gaga Slonina, 1-versus-1 chip over his right shoulder, and that of a way to cap off his debut. And then turn around a couple days later against DC, and he hits just an absolute beautiful finesse curler from the left side of the 18, back stick. It was a beautiful finish. And then you saw the chemistry with Lucas Zelarayan and that second goal that he scored off the throw in. Lucas collects, facing his own goal, turns up, and immediately Cucho, as soon as Zelarayan turns, Cucho is making that darting run to the near stick, diving header. So already we've seen a 1v1, a finesse shot from outside the box, a diving header, and then his 4th goal so far in MLS came off of a set piece from, again, Lucas Zelarayan. He's making a run towards the near stick, flicks it on to the second post, to the back stick, and it's goal time. So Cucho has been absolutely phenomenal for the Columbus Crew this year. And for me, it's so much more than, and I'm probably going to ramble here for a minute, guys. But so for me, I talked about like what he's done in the goal scoring. Like that's why we sign a guy like that. The Columbus Crew, I have the stat right here before I get into the difference that Cucho makes. But prior to Cucho, we've had 4 strikers play for the Columbus Crew this year. Giassi Zardes, who's off to Colorado, Jason Russell Rowe, who we signed from Crew 2, Miguel Berry, who's at DC now, and Eric Hurtado, who came in last year from Sporting Kansas City because he was unvaccinated. And those 4 guys combined had 34 shots and 14 shots on target through 1,700 minutes combined. Cucho has 4 fewer shots. They had 38. So he has 34 shots, 4 fewer shots so far this season, and 2 more shots on target and 1,473 less minutes. So that production's there. We brought him in for the right reasons, right? We're getting that production from the number 9 spot, but he's not your traditional number 9. He's not your Giassi. He's not your Miguel Berry. He's not your Eric Hurtado. He's different. He's not your traditional 9. And what I mean by that is he's comfortable dropping into the midfield and combining and interchanging with Lucas Zelarayan, which is so important because that's so hard to defend, going from playing on that back line to then dropping into the midfield. And how does the defense communicate that back and forth? And then Lucas Zelarayan floating into those spaces. And then he loves to float left and combine with Derek Etienne Jr. and take on some of those spaces. And he floats right. And he's literally just everywhere. And he's creating space for his teammates as well. We talked about Insigne and Bernadeschi making his teammates better. Well, that's kind of what Cucho has done as well by all that off the ball movement, the off the ball stuff that he does. He's created the space. He's created opportunities for Derek Etienne Jr., Luis Diaz, who has been kind of absent for most of the early part of the season. He's been a lot better. Lucas Zelarayan looks like he has a weight lifted off of his shoulders when he's, picking his head up in a transition moment and immediately finding Cucho and they're off on the run in transition. We saw in the opening goal that he scored against Chicago. He scored and then they immediately ran to the corner. And I love that Cucho just didn't give a damn, ripped his shirt off, ran to the corner, got the yellow card. But Lucas Zelarayan jumped into his arms with, a grin from ear to ear. And he looks relieved. He looks like a man that has the weight of the city lifted off his shoulders. He has a strike partner now. He has a guy that he can trust and a guy that can get the job done at a high level for him. So I mean, he's been phenomenal, and he's just made this team feel more confident and more competent as well. And you can see it popping up all over the field. Like, this team plays different. There's a freedom in the attack. They've been so freaking fun.
Yeah. As I'm hearing you talk, all I'm thinking is, man, our back line is gonna have a nightmare this weekend. So hopefully these boys are definitely up for it. Especially our fullbacks. It'll be interesting to see who starts for us. And someone asked a question about it, but I'll leave it there at the end as well. Here's a question that's a little bit off topic, but I had a debate with somebody yesterday about this, about players. One of the things they mentioned was the MLS does a good job, of having scouts here now, that even a player like Cucho can come here and go back to Europe. I'm like, I don't know how much I believe that, because the last couple of signings, the last couple of players that have been exported to MLS that were quote unquote the guys, the top talent here, haven't gone anywhere significant, in my opinion. I mean, look at Tati, arguably the best player in MLS. He's going to Girona. That's not anything amazing, right? Pepe went to Augsburg. DK went to West Brom, right? So I'm like, I don't know if I can buy that players, especially at the age where Cucho is 23, can come here and then get a bigger move back to Europe, right? So I kind of just wanted your thoughts on that.
Well,
I think
DK went to Middlesbrough, right? He came from West Brom, came back to Orlando, and then Middlesbrough got him back, or bought him up, I believe. Regardless, sorry.
Yeah. No, so I think it can absolutely happen. Like, we saw what he can do in the Prem. Scored 5 goals last year for Watford, who unfortunately got relegated, or fortunately, depending on who you're a fan of. But we saw his quality in the Premier League, right? And he immediately came over here and has made an instant impact. And Cucho has been on the record saying MLS, and a lot of these guys have come over to MLS and they're like, this league isn't a retirement league. It's nothing to laugh at. Like, this is a competitive league, and it offers something different than any other league does. And just the physicality and the jam-packed season, all those things. But I think it can absolutely happen for Cucho. Like, we've seen him do it at the highest level. He's doing it here. If he gets calls back to the Colombian national team, which is ultimately his goal, then I mean, his value will skyrocket. And I think it's already not skyrocketed, but it's already improved since he's come to Columbus.
Yeah. But my only counter argument to that is, like, Tati is a baller. He's arguably the best player in MLS, and we didn't see him make a significant move. In my opinion, our top talent in MLS needs to be going to, if it's not a middle tier club in the top 5 leagues, it needs to be either one of the top teams in Portugal or a top team in the Netherlands, right? That way, there's more of an argument to get players like Cucho to come here to be able to springboard. I just don't think the league has actually shown that just yet. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's between a rock and a hard place a little bit right now, right? So I think MLS is growing, and now teams are starting, like, in MLS are trying to, like, really, like, not back down on their prices, right, of what they're selling players for anymore. And I think leagues are, like, overseas are still kind of, like, trying to get MLS quality cheaper and maybe undervaluing where it's actually at. I think Tati is the perfect example of that, because technically they had an offer. Like, Palmeiras put in an offer. It was just lower than what they valued him at, and they refused to budge on that. So I think there's a combination of, like, and nobody else was willing to meet that valuation of 15 million, which I think is fair. Like, Tati, the amount of work he does, I think he would be exceptional in a lot of places. And I think right now there's a combination of, where MLS is still getting a little bit of disrespect overseas, especially in Europe. And I think part of that is just going to take a little time. But if Tati finds, like, a way to kill it over there, I mean, he's gonna make that next move. And, like, I think a lot of those moves will just take a little bit more time. But Miguel Almiron was able to make that move and pave that way a little bit, right? So it's starting. It's not going to be super consistent. And I think MLS is just waiting to get that respect that I think they've worked hard to earn.
I think we're almost there. And for the Tati thing, like you said, Brian, Tati's move it's a stepping stone in his career. Like he's making that move with the understanding that hopefully he's going to do well. He's going to go work his ass off, and then he's going to get a bigger sell on somewhere else. And I think that's absolutely realistic for Tati and other strikers like Cucho. You know,
Brendan Aronson's another good example of this, right? So like people were like, why would he go to Salzburg? But they wanted to make that sale into the right spot to get him just more minutes, not feel that like high level intensity competition that he's going to feel now. He's going to feel it at Leeds, like, right. They're going to be in a relegation battle, likely Premier League. It's going to, and it's on him in a lot of ways. Like he's going to be a prime, huge signings for them. Like he's going to feel it. Whereas if he made that jump initially, I don't, I think the risk of him taking that leap and it not panning out is way higher than him taking that time in Salzburg and growing into that position.
And with Man City being in charge of what's going on with Tati, I think that they are going to have good business practice as well, because they want to get the biggest return on their investment, which is Tati. So they're going to send him there and hopefully he shows out. So I think that is a stepping stone. And although it's a strange comparison to Brandon Aronson because he's a homegrown, came through Philly, whatever, but yeah, it works. It does work. I agree with you.
Awesome.
I think Owen kind of nails it though, right? I mean, the MLS overall is still disrespected in the US. I mean, unless you're into the sport, right?
Well, when you have broadcasting like ESPN that will play a volleyball game, and you know what I'm saying, instead of playing MLS, it really like takes away from the importance of the league.
Oh, even when we played Chelsea, how like screwed up apparently that broadcasting was, right? Calling us the Panthers or whatever. Oh, it's just a debacle from what I heard.
I didn't get a chance to hear it, but yeah, I did hear people like complaining about it.
Yeah. I think Apple Plus, the Apple TV deal should help significantly. If not, maybe there's some issues in terms of like just TV broadcasting, but like I just think in terms of product and what will actually be provided is going to be such a huge boost. People are like, whoa, what is this? Like this is like an actual.
If they can come out like NBC covers the Premier League, man, that would definitely lift up the overall knowledge of new fans and that sort of thing too, right?
I think that's the goal. I think that's the big thing. Just lots of actual pre and post game content. I think is going to be a change that just doesn't exist. It's just literally like a game comes on and then the game ends, and you're just like, where was that?
100%. Well, let's talk a little bit more about this Columbus Charlotte game. Yeah. Brian, what does Charlotte need to do to get a result this weekend?
Show up, right? First and foremost, they need to show up. Right, at home, which I think is likely, right? I think at home they've always been able to do that. I still feel confident that they can do that at home, even with like how absurdly poor these last two performances have been. They haven't shown to have that issue as much at home. Even I'd say Austin, there were times when I was like, man, they're just not creating the chances they need, but like they still seem to be fighting in that game for the most part. It just seemed like they just couldn't like get into the final third and finish. But so first and foremost, show up, right? Bring energy, dominate possession. They have to. I feel like they have to dominate possession in this game. I feel like they have to set the tempo and decide how this game is going to be played and force Columbus back a little bit. And I think we can do that at home. We've been able to do that against most teams at home, even really good, competent teams. So I don't think that should be something that should be outside of the realm of possibility for Charlotte to be able to do.
100%.
In front of their own fans. And if that doesn't happen, I think we could be in real trouble.
And so, Brian, I want to piggyback off that. The Columbus Crew over this past weekend when we played the New England Revolution, the Revs sat in deep in a mid to low block, and their center backs Henry Kessler and Andrew Farrell not very frequently did they have to turn around and run back towards their own goal. It was very difficult to get in behind them because they were compact. They forced us to go wide, and they played that low block. And the Columbus Crew put up 17 shots or whatever, but a lot of our shots were from outside of the box. We weren't getting a lot of production from those, good scoring chance areas just outside the 18 and zone 14 or inside of the 18 for that matter, outside of a really sick Pedro Santos full volley. But so for the Columbus Crew, if you have the majority of possession, the Columbus Crew since we have been very dangerous on the counterattack, absorbing that pressure, playing with Derek Etienne out left, Luis Diaz with that speed out right, and Zelarion in the 4-2-3-1, and Cucho up top. Those four guys leading the line like the transition moments could be there and will be really, really dangerous if you guys do hold possession. If you guys decide to concede possession, which I don't think you'll do at home because you want to put out a nice product, right? I think you guys have, you're a top 10 possession team in the league, and at home, I think that you guys will. But if you guys were to sit in and play that mid to low block in moments, it's going to be hard for us to break you down.
Yeah, I think I would be really disappointed if I saw us play that way. To be honest, like I think the fans would lose their minds. Like I think to be frank, I think they would be like, what the is this? I think they would just absolutely lose it. And I think we just have to be willing to play our, like Latanzio said this before his very first game, because people were like, how are we going to approach New York Red Bulls when they come to town? In his very first game, like, we're going to impose our game model. Like we're not gonna like figure out a weird tactical adjustment to prepare for New York Red Bulls. They're coming to our house. They're playing by our rules. Is kind of like the mindset that Latanzio came into that game. And I think we have to maintain that at home. And if there's counter chances, there's counter chances. And it's a matter of whether or not we have Carujo, who's been our fireman all season. And he's had a couple rough games, but like, I think we have to continue to play that style because that's Charlotte's style. And I think we have to be able to establish that we're willing to die on our sword to get a dominant result, especially after this last stretch of games. To do anything less, I can just see Twitter exploding.
Right.
And it's funny you bring up the New York Red Bulls game and you guys just imposing your will and playing your guys' game plan. And you guys were successful. You guys executed building the ball out of the back. You guys didn't make mistakes. If you had to play long, you played long. You guys just, that's the game plan against the New York Red Bulls. If you don't make mistakes and you can build out of the back and beat the initial press, you're good to go, right? Well, you at least should be in theory. And this past weekend, the New York Red Bulls just smashed Austin, but then Austin put up 3 goals. But like Austin were making mistakes. Austin could not handle that press. And so my point being is, I ask players when I have them on interviews, like, how do you guys prepare for your upcoming matches? And they're like, well, we're going to do what we always do. Like, we are who we are, and we're going to play that way. And if the other team plays better than us, then, so be it. But, we have an identity and we're going to stick to it. So just going back to the Columbus Crew game, like, I think Columbus Crew will go to Charlotte, concede possession, and we'll kind of play transition soccer.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that, Lee?
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's no doubt being at home, and especially with the result we had last weekend, that the boys are going to come out and show up. My fear is that we're just not going to be able to score, right? I mean, for some reason, we're not lighting it up in the scoring section of the league, right, or on the pitch or whatever. So, I think it's just going to be a dogfight, really, man.
Yeah, I think this could honestly also be a situation where we get kind of caught in that situation where it's 0-0 late and we're kind of in like a little bit of a panic mode, and Columbus could absolutely, especially with Cucho, could absolutely find that Golazzo like Austin and LA Galaxy did on us and get that 1-0 win out of nowhere that just kind of shuts the crowd down. It's just so devastating and that's happened to us twice at home. And I think this is another game because of how Columbus kind of sits and absorb, because they don't press really at all. They sit and absorb a lot of pressure when they don't have the ball, and just being willing to kind of control. They generally control possession, but I think this is a situation that could be set up where
I would love for Daryl to suddenly just light up the league again like he did.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Speaking of Carroll and speaking of lineups, this is a good question. What would be your preferred lineup going into this game? Any of you can go.
Ooh, taking that one.
Kalina.
Armor. Hello.
Would you want to experiment still? Brian, talk to me. You want to see a 4-3-3? Do you want to go?
I want that back line to be solid like we're used to. Right? Obviously, Bronco is going to be in there. Do we know if Jaws is healthy enough to play?
So I imagine Fuchs and Jaws miss.
Fuchs is out with the red card, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, it's like, who do you put in right back? Are we going with a Fool there, or are we going with Lindsay?
Let's see, a Fool started against Columbus. I just feel like Latanzio or something's going on in there where they just don't aren't rating Lindsey as a starter right now.
Yeah,
It's kind of boggling my mind a little bit, but I get a feeling like they're just not willing to put him in there in those moments at the start right now. So I think it would probably be. I mean, Latanzi has also shown a willingness to like accept the mistakes he makes tactically and correct them. So I mean, we're gonna see Walks and Carujo. I'd almost guarantee that as the center back pairing.
Yeah, I mean that's
I think
almost.
we'll start over Lindsey. I definitely could see that.
A full starting over Lindsey. I think so as well. He already started the last game and didn't look terrible in Columbus. I think the midfield gets interesting because of how good the midfield is for Columbus.
Does Gaines start?
No, I don't. Oh, I guess if Josviak doesn't play, I mean, it's gotta. I would imagine he probably starts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say Shinya, Reyna, and Carroll up top.
Yeah,
that's what I would see, unless he wants to save Andre for the second half. And I'd say right now, in terms of the pulse, like the little race, anyway, am I forgetting his name? McKenzie has it over Vargas right now. I feel like Vargas still hasn't. I don't think he's convinced Latanzio yet. So
no. I think I do like. I don't mind Shinyashiki coming off. I think if that's the lineup with Shinyashiki coming off the bench, I don't mind it as long as it's the 55th, 60th minute, right? I'm totally cool with that strategy. Like it's shown to be effective and to work, and it puts him in a position where he thrives, which is up top in the middle. But I mean, we can't wait for the 80th minute, like they put him in against Miami. Like he's got to go in and be like, we'll leave him on the bench, but we're putting him in the 55th minute, almost regardless of what is happening in the game, because you can't not have him get solid minutes because of how his form is.
Yeah. Someone's asking about Alcivar. I think with Yordi, the thing is, one of the main things that Latanzio talked about when he first got the job was the intensity he wanted to bring into this team. And I think that's one of Alcivar's biggest issues. He's not a player that's, going to give you 100%, I'm assuming, in trainings and on the field, right? So a similar situation with TT Ortiz and why he was let go, and so hopefully he can pick that up because, I mean, he is still a young DP and he still has the qualities that we need. That he's got qualities. We've seen it already, and I think he's got some changing to do before he can actually, hopefully he starts getting minutes again. But if he doesn't, I can definitely see him maybe next window piecing out of the club. But
yeah, I feel like for him, his decision, he's got to decide whether or not he's a Mar guy or whether or not he's a Charlotte FC player, right? I think that's the decision that's facing him right now.
That's a good point. That's a really great point that you're making, because it looks like there's an exodus of, Mars players that are leaving the club. Alan Franco left, TT Ortiz. Obviously, Yordi was one of the guys. But I think Yordi was somebody that Charlotte thought of. But I guess since Miguel knew him better, they went ahead and decided to pull the trigger on him. But you also got to remember, he brought us in Guzman Corujo too, who's arguably been one of our best players this season. So
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And then last but not least, we'll talk a little bit about score predictions, and I want to hear from everybody in the comments section. And I guess we'll start off with Blake. Blake, since last time you predicted we would win 2-1, what's your score predictions for this time?
Let's not get it confused here, folks. I think the Columbus Crew will win this game 2-0.
Ooh. What makes you confident that you'll win 2-0 this weekend?
So in the 9-match unbeaten streak, we have 4 shutouts. So I think we've really shored up kind of the defense. Eloy Room, 7 shutouts on the season. Like 7 shutouts on the season, like I said, top 5 in shot stopping percentage. our defensive center backs, Josh Williams and Jonathan Mensah, they've been the preferred pairing, and Caleb Porter's really gone with them. I think because of their chemistry and communication, those guys are good. The Aiden Morris effect has been for real. You guys didn't ask me my starting lineup, but the center midfield is going to be huge for the Columbus Crew. Aiden Morris, Darlington Nagbe, one of the best center midfield pairings in MLS, one of the best double pivots in MLS just because of their balance. Darlington Nagbe's distribution paired up with Aiden Morris's destroying ground coverage, Tyler Adams-esque style of play. And then, just the addition of Cucho.
I think it was you who said that when you guys start Morris, you don't lose, right?
Yeah.
We haven't. We have not lost any game that Aiden Morris has started in. And he started every game in this 9-game unbeaten run. And then the addition of Cucho, like if the game does turn transition-esque and you guys do hold a majority of possession, Lee, I believe you said it. You don't know how you guys are going to score goals, or you don't know if you are going to score goals. We've given up the third fewest goals this season, third fewest goals per game. Like our defense is good, despite the fact that we have Pedro Santos, who used to be a left winger, center attacking mid, whatever. Like he's a top left back in the league, first in tackles, second in blocks with 50 of those, and then third in tackles and interception. So he's a legit left back. And then Steve Moreira has been up and down that right flank. Like we're a dangerous team. And with the addition of Cucho, like I came out and said this the other day, and I really don't think it's that hot of a take. The Columbus Crew are going to finish top 4 in the East, and we're going to host a home MLS playoff match. So it's going to be a good game. Tactics are going to be deployed from both teams, like we talked about. But I think the difference with Cucho and Lucas Eliran, their chemistry and just how quick we've been playing in transition and how quickly we're moving the ball in that realm, I think the Columbus Crew win 2-0. That's just a very long-winded way of saying that it's 2-0 for us.
Yeah. Brian, give us your score prediction.
I think 1-0 Charlotte. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be Veronica and Crujo are going to get the juice from the home crowd and provide a lot of the energy that they have been missing the last couple of games. I think it is going to be very nervy, right? I think it's going to be really chippy, and it's going to be a wait for that goal. But I think we're going to kind of relieve some of those nightmares of those late 0-0 situations at home where we've given up some golazzos, and I think we're going to get our own golazzo from Vargas.
Ooh.
Late, like 84th minute.
Vargas.
Okay. Nice. 84th minute. Lee, talk to us about this game. I know you said you're a little.
I think it's going to be a very edgy, nervous 1-1.
Ooh, he's going for a draw.
Yep. I just don't see us putting too many at Columbus on Saturday, man. And one would be enough.
Yep.
One would be enough. 1-1.
Okay. We'll see. I definitely think we'll definitely see we'll see the home form of Charlotte FC again. Team with energy, with pressing from the get-go, will want to have that possession. And I think we'll win 2-1 this game. It'll be definitely a tight game, but I definitely see us winning. Don't forget that when we played Columbus away, if Shinya Shiki did not miss that 1v1, I think it was, we would have won that game. So
Can't live in the past, man. We're looking forward to the future.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, my shrink keeps telling me.
It'll be something similar this weekend, but we'll definitely put it away this time and not let it slip.
I got a question. Have any of you guys ever predicted that Charlotte would lose?
I have.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
No.
Yeah.
I have, and I got
do it against Columbus.
What's that?
Huh?
I didn't hear what Blake asked.
I said you guys just won't admit it against Columbus, man. Come on.
We're at home. If we're away, man, that'd be different. We're at home, and we're a completely different team at the bank, man, for sure. We'll see.
It also depends on when you get us, too. Like, if we just had a dominant home performance, the next episode, everyone's very confident that we're going to win the next game, away game. But I think that train of, we do really well at home, and we got an away game next, kind of like that spirit's kind of died because we've won one game away so far. So,
well, thank
we
God
haven't
we got
lost
3
3 in a row since March. So, we haven't gone on a super long losing streak this season since the beginning. So,
Speaking about away form really quick, the Columbus Crew are in way better away form than they have been the past 2-3 years under Caleb Porter. We have 15 points, I believe, away. That's good for 4th in the East, I believe, which is miles better than we have been. We've picked up some really important points recently in this 9-match unbeaten streak on the road. So we're not the road team that we used to be. This team's mentality looks to be different, and we're looking for at least a point, hopefully 3.
But
Yeah,
see,
New York Red Bulls were 5-1-1 when they faced us at home.
that was my point.
On the road, they were like 5 wins on the road.
I wasn't ready for the rebuttal.
Yeah, we don't
And
care.
the game we got slapped.
Good on you. Good on you, Brian.
First game, by the way. So awesome. With that, my man Lee, where can we find you at, my guy?
Find us on all the socials at CLTFC Fan TV. We do our fan interviews outside the Lowe's gate after each game. Blake, come find us, man. Love to interview out there. Also, we do our live shows on Wednesdays, and if we're on the road, we do a live watch along for that game. And tomorrow night, we're giving away a pair of 2 tickets to the DC game.
Nice. Oh, that'll be good. Brian, where can we find you at, my guy?
You can find me on Twitter at BA Maurer Media. You can also find all my written articles at topin90.com. And speaking of topin90.com, for website subscribers, we are starting a fantasy EPL subscribers cup starting this season. So if you're a subscriber to the website already, you'll be getting an email soon with the code to enter the tournament, right? And if you want to subscribe and be a part of it, subscribe. And we will also then send you an email so you can make a team. You can sign a bunch of scrub Liverpool players or get some. I'm just kidding. Oh,
yeah. So we got some really cool things coming up. Obviously, we did the Chelsea giveaway last week. I got other giveaways that are coming here in the future. And so we've got some fun stuff planned out as well. And then, Blake, my man, where can we find you at?
You guys can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, MLS Gone Wild. Find me there. And then listen to the podcast. It's out pretty much on a weekly basis. I'm not doing one this week because I'm on here, and then I'm on MLS Aces tomorrow night. But if you guys are interested in listening to any of my previous player interviews or analysis or future player interviews analysis, MLS Gone Wild on Apple, Spotify, literally wherever you guys listen. Go check that out. If you like it, rate, review, subscribe, all those good things. And I appreciate everybody's support, and I can't wait to meet all you Charlotte fans this weekend. And
I really love how you do your MLS rankings too every week. I look forward to those as well.
It's tough. Austin was not happy this week, although I put mine out last night. Just I didn't get around to it earlier yesterday, so I put them out last night. I have to put them out before MLS puts theirs out, and it's funny. MLS, the pundits actually put Austin in the same exact spot, right below New York. So they were like, "Oh, they just copied MLS." I was like, "Oh, that feels good." I know they weren't really paying attention. Tyler, thanks for the Paxton interview shout there, man. That was a really fun one, and that kid's going to get sold for millions and millions and millions of dollars, and he's going to be an incredible player, and he already is.
Nice. With that, and you know where you can find me at socials at TopBin90 everywhere, TikTok at Real TopBin90. Like I said, we've got more great things coming. Thank you everybody for joining tonight. This has been another episode over